This is the first John Deere that I've had on the channel. Nothing special here, but we got a LA105 and it's not looking all that pretty. And believe it or not, I bought this for $200. So I'll tell you more about it and what I plan to do to it. Hi everybody, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Kyle and the channel is called Kyle by the Creek. Behind me, like I said, we have a 2007 John Deere LA105, and I paid 200 bucks for it because I bought it from the local power equipment store that's always sending stuff my way, and I didn't want them to, you know, develop a partnership with anybody else. So I pounced on it. I said, yeah, I'll spend $200 on this. The story is, it needs a head gasket, and honestly, I have not touched this machine. I have not tried to turn it over. I haven't done anything besides wheel it off my trailer and park it in the dirt and the grass. And I've been waiting for some parts to come in because I have a lot of stuff to help this tractor out, to get it to be as good of a unit as we can, to price it as high as we can when we go to resell it, and to fix all the things, including the head gasket. So let me show you what I purchased, because I think I have all my ducks in a row. I wanted to do that before I started this project. I'll show you what I have. So first things first, some time ago I acquired this bagger system for free. Now it's a little jacked up. I think a branch fell on it, but I believe I can just unbolt this. There's a metal bracket underneath and it's all bent, but we should be able to fix that. The only thing is I'm not seeing the bags. I can't remember if the bags came along with this. In any case, I'm pretty sure we can buy those aftermarket on Amazon, so I'm not too worried about that. Or I might have them in my stash. I just gotta look a little harder. So we have the head gasket, because that's gonna be probably one of the first things we do. All right, this is pretty exciting, and I was waiting on this stuff for about 2 weeks. It just failed to come in. We have OEM John Deere paint. Actually came in a John Deere box. So we got the TY25641 and the TY25624 paint. So there's your OEM John Deere paint. So what are we going to do with that? Well, we're going to pop the rear fender off, grind it down, paint her green. And with the yellow deck, going to get that taken off, ground down, and painted yellow. I won't touch the plastic hood. I think that's in great shape. But yeah, this thing is going to look quite nice for resale when we're done. People hate when I call that a restoration. I mean, it's a tractor, so I know. No, I'm not I don't think anyone restores lawn tractors. We're just making them look good. Okay, I call it a restoration, whatever. We're painting it, okay? And then in here, we have a replacement seat, and I have not opened it, so let's open this box up. Yeah, we have a pretty tall seat, a lot bigger than what's on there, but there was no way I was actually paying for a John Deere seat, and this one was a decent price. Say it was $70 or something like that. So yeah, like it doesn't say John, it doesn't have a John Deere sticker on the back. We could get one, but yeah. So I think with a brand new seat, rear fender painted, deck painted, with a bagger if we can get that going, brand new head gasket. Oh, we haven't even looked at the engine on this Briggs & Stratton 19.5. Pretty easy job to do a head gasket, I think. I think what we'll do first, since this thing has been sitting in the dirt and everything, and it's just pretty dirty and a little oily down there, let's give it a pressure wash. So it's looking a little better. Definitely be a little easier to work on now. But yeah, we have no battery up front, so I'm gonna get the jump pack on and we'll fire this thing up for the first time. There's a whole bunch of gas in it, so that's good. Fuel lines look to be in good shape. Filter looks a little old. It's got a John Deere oil filter on it. I never know if that's a good sign or a bad sign. I just wonder if that's the original filter. But yeah, I think this thing is safe to start up. We have some flat tires on the other side, at least this one. Tires look good though. Kind of see some paint in there. I wonder if these are like the nubs are on them, but I don't know how new those fronts are. They might be pretty new. All right, let's see if it runs and if we can tell with our ears if it needs a new head gasket or not, because I'm always curious how people diagnose that. So I mean, you can hear it a lot of times, but sometimes you can't. Let's try it again. Sounds absolutely perfect. Maybe it's leaking oil, you know, maybe that's why they say it needs a new head gasket. Oil's a bit low, but not bad. I do want to drive it around and test it, so maybe I'll just put a little bit in there and let's see if we can get this thing to perform like it needs a new head gasket. I got smoky in here real quick. All right, I think it's pretty obvious from what you saw in film that, you know, it's either the head gasket or it needs new rings on the piston, but I'm gonna go with the simpler option first, which, you know, usually happens on these Briggs, is it needs a new head gasket. So I'm glad we found something that gave us some evidence of that, because when this thing first fired up, you know, there was no smoke and sounded great. And I tell you what, it drives and mows perfectly. So hopefully this is all we really need to do mechanically to it, because I think that's pretty easy. The decks are easy enough to uninstall. You get these two here. Those mount to the frame. These mount to the more mid frame. And you have your belt, you have your engagement, which is still on the machine, and then a front. So pretty easy. It, you know, slides out without having to lift the mower up, so that's always nice. You can see here someone installed this like skirt on it. Not really sure what they're trying to accomplish with that. I guess trying to stripe their lawn from the front. I don't know. That's just a gross wet rag is what it seems like now. So it's screwed on there, or self-tappers or something, but I'll be removing that. Oh boy, we might have a much bigger problem here. I have all sorts of oil going on in the back of the engine. I gotta figure out where that is coming from. Or maybe I should fire it up again and give it a look. Yeah, that's a little weird. It just looks like it's hardly getting any fuel. I don't know, I'm distracted by that. Maybe like the breather hose is on poorly. Maybe it's leaking from this corner or this bolt. Or maybe I just didn't clean it well. I don't really understand. It's definitely oil. It's not coming from the filter. I don't think there's a crack in the block. Sure hope not. I mean, it's a single cylinder, so usually it wouldn't crack the block and keep running. It would usually mean that it threw a rod and the thing was toast. Yeah, we'll just have to keep an eye on all that. To get to the head bolts, I have to take this hood mount off. It looks pretty weak right there. It doesn't look terrible, but oh yeah. Yep. That's blown. I mean, that's where they blow too. So, and if you see dark oil there like that, yeah, that's a blown head gasket. So we have the valve cover cleaned up and new gasket ready to go. Got this side cleaned up too. Here's our replacement head gasket. Here's the original one here. Here's the replacement. And we have a new exhaust gasket and a new intake gasket. So we're going to start getting this put back together now. Alright, so just checking the valve clearance. The intake here is about 16 thousandths and this is 10 thousandths on the exhaust, so I'll tighten those up a little bit so that clearance gap isn't so bad. But I put that back together without undoing any of that. I mean, you could just compress the spring a little bit, get the push rod in there, you know, sneak it in, get the rockers on without having to undo that. Perfect world, you know, the valves would be set the way they were. Who knows, this could be how the valves were set, or, you know, came loose just a little bit. So yeah, we'll tighten that gap up a little bit. I tighten these head bolts down by hand. I know some people are gonna expect me to torque them down to spec. I don't know if you're looking for torque specs, you're watching the wrong channel here, guys. I even like to do valves by hand without even using feelers, because it's not that hard to do. You can just feel the right gap and just do it the old school way. You could do it nice and quick like an old timer, and I usually like to do them like that. It's just I find by the time you fiddle with these things enough, like every time it feels different, you get like a different reading, so you might as well just do it to the way that it feels right. So I just finished doing these by hand, and that's a 4/1000th, so yeah, I think you can get it pretty close. Just get this. Yeah, that's probably more like a 5 on the exhaust, but yeah, I think that's good. We have our valve cover gasket. You torque to spec on these. It's just as tight as you can before you strip them out. There we go. And make sure it's upright. OHV, and you have the engine model number and serial number on top, because you could put it on upside down, but then you can't read that stuff. We got the exhaust on and the spark plug on. Let's get this intake for the carburetor on now. So you have the engine shroud back on. Everything's put back together actually, and I have a theory about this oil spill that I'm seeing down here, that it might be the fuel pump. I think there's some gas in the oil, and sometimes that's hard to even see on the dipstick, but it definitely smells like fuel, the oil does. And so if we're over full and this is got a this gets its prime from the oil fill tube, and if we're over full, then maybe this is picking up some gas and some oil, and it's just burping out of here. So because everything on the lines, like, it's just soaking wet with oil. So, and I didn't see anything dripping while I was watching it, so I don't know. That's just my idea. So I'm gonna drain the oil, but I need to run out to the store to get another oil filter. I should really stock up on these things, but yeah. So let's drop the oil though. I want to see how much is in there, and then I'll go out to the store. We'll get a filter. Let's see what this is all about. Is it just that easy? Get that off. All right. I like that. It's a nice way to drain the oil with this tube coming out past the frame. You know, even the Briggs ones that they make that are like, you just twist them like that, but they're tucked back into the frame, so it still makes a big mess. But this addition is pretty nice here, Briggs. Maybe John Deere has something to do with that. I don't know. So here's a look at the oil. It doesn't look too bad. I don't know if there's gas in there. I do keep smelling it, so we'll just keep looking out for that idea that maybe there was too much gas in the oil and it was burping out of that fuel pump, but we'll see. We came back from the store too. Cheap battery from Walmart and exchanged a core. Some overpriced things from Tractor Supply, but at least we have some stuff to keep going here. So let's, yeah, I got a spark plug just to replace that one that was pretty fouled. Yeah, we'll put that one in. And then we have a nice Briggs and Stratton, yeah, triple the price oil filters here. So let's get these installed. So looking a little over full, haven't run it yet and haven't filled up that oil filter, so we'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, that was just a little under 1.5 quarts, and sometimes it looks over full right away, but that should be the right amount of oil. We haven't looked at the air, well, I haven't showed you the air filter. The air filter is fine, so I'm just not going to replace that. So yeah, let's get that battery in. Of course, the posts are backwards from what I need. They're both yeah, they're both too short. That needed to be the other orientation. Here's my positive, but it's in the rear. That's the next morning. Got a little sidetracked and had to abandon the project yesterday, but what I was working on before I shut the camera off was extending these battery leads here, so I have a much longer ground. And I took the original short one here because it has this you know, this is for the solenoid, and you kind of need a little trigger wire on there, so I kept the same one and then just bolted up an extension. So that will give me the length we need. So let's we got to get this ground wire off that's tucked down there. So looks like it's just maybe a 10mm bolt. Hopefully I can just get a socket extension down there and remove that. Alright, good. That bolt came right out. there's a secondary ground tied into it. Alright, we'll have to, might have to rig up something again, but let me try to rescue this bolt. Alright, there's the bolt, all greasy and oily. We've got everything hooked back up, and plenty of wire length now. See that we could accommodate any kind of battery. So that was definitely set up for a particular battery, and I just didn't think about it, or whatever, I don't know. But this is a little bit more flexible now for people in the future. Put a new fuel filter on too. So we got a shut off now. Fuel filter, we're actually all serviced, completely serviced now. New battery too. We're ready to fire it up again, and we'll check on oil leaks and smoke. Yeah, compression feels good. I just double checked oil. We have oil, we have fuel. All right, let's see what it does. It's running perfectly. All right, well, I think we're safe to proceed. Yeah, now that the engine's running perfectly and it's serviced, it's charging the battery, our tires are holding air, everything drives perfectly. I could test it on a harder hill, but there's absolutely no problem going up that hill. Transmission feels great. You know, the bigger test will be under load, does it smoke? So I realize I don't have the mowing deck on to give it a full load, but based on how it was smoking before, even, you know, after it warmed up and it was idling, it was just blowing smoke with a blown head gasket. Now it's not doing anything, so I think we are good. What we'll do now is remove the fender, and we'll start preparing this for paint. We'll take off like the seat bracket and things like that. So let me get started on that. That could be an adventure. I might have to take the dash apart. I mean, I could do this job without removing the fender, so maybe I'll do that. I don't know. I'd have to do a lot of masking, but that's not really... Maybe I'll leave it, yeah, because these are, I believe these are more difficult. I kind of forget how the John Deere comes apart, because you have some fender bolts here, you know, and basically the center column here is on top of it. So, you know, do you want to mess with all that, or do you want to just strip away all the plastic and everything and then tape everything off, mask everything, and then paint it? So I don't know, I'll make a decision about that.
In spring.
Well, those just bolt right in. I thought there were nuts on the other side, but there aren't. So that's pretty easy. Nice. here's where we stand after grinding it down, and I masked everything off and did a quick coat of primer. I did that off camera. Wasn't much to see, but I might do a couple coats of this depending on how fast it dries, because just trying to get rid of like some of those edges like that. It's really hard to make a transition from paint to bare metal. The flapper disc does help with that, but you know, like here's a bad example, like see that, you know, so that doesn't look so good. Obviously like Bondo or something would help, or maybe like a filler style primer, but I'll just hit that a couple times. This will look fine. Again, it's a lawn tractor. And I just went with like masking tape and, you know, old shirts over the tires and things like that. All right, so that's gotta dry. Probably should focus our attention on the mowing deck now. And here's where we stand just after stripping everything down. I took the blades off. They're in like perfect shape. So we'll just hit this with a wire wheel. I'll probably break out the welder too. There's a little crack right there. These brackets often break, so I might hit this seam too. You can kind of see the weld, the seam of the weld, so maybe I'll just reinforce that real quick. I think anyone doing this as a hobby, or you know, you should really get one of these Harbor Freight welders. I know nothing is pretty over here, but it's not cracked anymore. All right, time for the yellow. We're gonna see how this John Deere yellow looks. Hopefully it's, I mean, there's a couple different yellows I've experienced with John Deere, but hopefully this is correct. It's the bright. See, it's like a little brighter than the other kind. I mean, it's gonna be fine because we're just gonna do the whole thing, but sometimes you have some trouble with John Deere getting the right yellow. Whoa, whoa. So there's one coat. I used about 80% of the can. So that's why I always like to get two, especially with a bright color. It is really hard to cover when you have a bright color. If it's black, it's way easier to cover, but got a really hard glare right there. But yeah, you see a lot of imperfections when it's yellow, so you definitely want to make sure you have enough paint to make the job look done. And since we're at it, we might as well do a little bit of the green, so let's see how this comes out. Yeah, I've never had problems with the green. Green always seems to match the John Deere green. I'm not familiar with another version of the green. The yellow though. Anyway, I do think we have the right yellow. It's just sometimes it's weird to look at right away. Coming out just fine. Alright, so here's the whole fender done, and again, I used about 80% of the can. So I think we're going to be just fine to do 2 pretty heavy coats, maybe 3. So it's the next morning, and I think the paint job is coming out great, although there's a few spots I'm not quite happy about. This is actually lifting. You can kind of, you could tell, like with a stiff breeze, that bit of paint is going to come right up. Another spot, this is really highly visible. This is the spot most people see. I always try to make this end of the mowing deck look the best, but yeah, so I think I'm gonna try some Bondo. I have some here, and yeah, I'm just gonna put some on some of these spots in the visible areas, and you know, just see if that works out. I'm no expert in Bondo. This is actually the first can I ever bought, and I still have it. So if that tells you anything, yep, that's what you're about to watch, guys, is me just trying some stuff out. Cap of the hardener came off of it. Hopefully that will still work. Yeah, we'll mix it in there. yeah, I think I'll stop there. You know, you could kind of get carried away and just keep on going. But I just wanted to get these major lines and chipping areas. I mean, there's another spot under here that's pretty bad. Yeah, but like I'm not going to be able to solve that. And you get the belt cover there. It's all right. You know, like you could, with this yellow paint, you could just keep finding areas. You know, you really need to like sandblast all of this paint off, and just not doing that, guys. This is, I don't know what you want to call it, not a restoration. It's I don't know, this is just how I flip tractors. Just trying to make it look its best, get it back to work, and make it look attractive to be sold. But you know, beyond that, you do want it to last. You know, you want it to be good, you want the metal to be painted. Like, I'm not trying to pull a fast one on anyone. I'm using OEM paint and fixing all the chips that I think are reasonable to fix. So yeah, I think this is a good way of going about it. And as we're waiting for the Bondo to dry, I think we can try to straighten this bracket out. Hopefully you can see it from this angle. This is all metal in here, and it just, something must have fallen on it. You can see the plastic is a little jacked up, and I don't want to bash on it while it's attached. I want to get all this off of it, so I'll probably undo all the hardware, get it off and straighten it out, and then put it back on. That should solve the problem. But just a little update on the bagger itself. I got this from a friend for free. It was probably last summer, and she gave it to me. She actually dropped it off at my house, and she didn't have the bags for it. So I went back in my messages to remember that. So no bags for this. So I ordered them on eBay used. It was the only option I can find, ones that have the correct bracket that hook into here and just kind of rest. They're an interesting design because it really just attaches at one point. About $175 for used John Deere bags. But yeah, guys, I went for it, so they're on their way. So we'll have a full bagging system. But yeah, I hope it's worth it. Hopefully the bagger system here adds a lot to the value. I mean, I got this much for free. You put $175 into the bags. You know, can you make your money back on it when you attach it to the tractor? I think you can. I think the bagger itself might add $200 worth of value, but basically I'm breaking even on this bagger probably for how much it's going to get me, but we'll see. All right, either way, it'll be nice to have a finished product with a full bagger system. So let me put it on time lapse. We'll get this bracket off and we'll straighten it up. So I actually straightened this out by hand, but you have this big bend in it. That's not supposed to be there. So I have a feeling the bolt holes won't line up if I just put it back like this. So this is pretty heavy duty. You think we can get that bend out of it? Yeah, might have to heat her up. All right, this is what I got out of it. That was a lot harder to bend than I thought. Still a little bit of an S bend in there, but yeah, this was a tree must have fallen on this thing hard. All right, so I did a little heat treatment on the plastic, and I actually let's see if I can get this out for you. I actually put this whole thing in the vise and just pinched it a little closer together. You can see this side is the damaged side, but it's a little bit better shape now. It fits really nicely in here, and the bolt holes line up, which was needed a little bit of help. Put the torch to the plastic, kind of got that back into shape a little bit, and yeah, Yeah, let's get this all put back together. And we're all put back together. And it's relatively straight. Yeah, not bad. Pretty happy with that. All right, this will probably just lie here until the bags come, and we'll probably put the bagger on last. I'll just hit the Bondo with an abrasive wheel. This is what it's looking like. I just used one of these things. Seemed to be a little bit easier than sandpaper. All right, still have about a half a can of this, the second can. All right, we'll give that a few coats. I have someone coming to buy the big tractor today. That's great. This thing is curing in the sun, and I think it's all finished. Just cleaned up the grass deflector and the belt guides, sharpened the blades, and I think I'm done with the green paint too, so I'm gonna start removing the masking tape. Thought maybe you guys wanted to see that. Looking pretty good. It's always one of my favorite things. I just love the clean contrast, like no chipping paint. This is where it always looks the worst, is right around the foot treads. But that, guys, is a clean look. And on the last tractor I worked on, I did this thing right here in the middle where I used some grip tape. And it's where we used to have a big decal. And it does look a little bit bare without something there. So I think we'll lay down another strip. This is the last bit of grip tape I have, so might as well use it. I think I got that pretty good for freehanding it. Maybe it's just a tad crooked, like it needs to go that way just a bit, but obviously it's stuck down now. Lines look pretty good. just overlap a little bit here. I even got it tucked underneath there just to keep the edges from pulling up. Very nice. All right, she's coming back together here. It's looking great. The glare is almost too much to appreciate it. We'll have to get it outside in some more even light. Yes, that is looking really nice. Glad I took the time to remove things like that. Just makes it even cleaner. I know I have some overspray on some of the pulleys, but it is what it is. Alright, we could either mount the deck or we could do the seat. I think I'll do the deck first. We'll save the seat for later. Nice cherry on top. Maybe first I'll touch up some of this paint here, mask some things off, and do Rust-Oleum gloss on that. It's probably a good idea. There we go. All right, so it's a couple days later and look what just came in. Our bags. And this seller on eBay, he shipped them fast. These things are in nearly perfect shape. They're used, but they're about as good as you could ask for. I think that's $175 well spent, at least for now. Yeah, pretty good. And a little bit off topic is this pretty nice Husqvarna here, YTH22V46 XLS. That's a lot of numbers and letters. But I got this as a trade-in for that big tractor. I call it big tractor because that was the thumbnail for the video. But that MTD 54-inch 25 horsepower V-twin, that was a pretty big tractor. So yeah, but I got this. We took $200 off my asking price, and the guy came and delivered this and hauled away the other one. And what he said was it didn't start and it didn't move. And he said it would start with a jump. And I was like, well, sounds like you have a dead battery. He was like, no, it's not a dead battery. It's a new battery. And he said the amps are good. Well, the battery was dead. I jumped it. It started. It moved. So I was like, okay. This is all after he dropped it off, you know. And then it wouldn't mow, you know. So you do that and it would die. And I was checking the voltage, and sure enough, the battery was being drained while it was running. I was like, oh, this is easy. This is just a bad voltage regulator. So I put in an order for a $10 voltage regulator, and problem completely solved. So this thing starts, moves. So he was reading the amps. They were like, you know, at 0, and he was like, I'm sure that's what he thought. He was like, it's not like dipping down into the negatives, but these things are funny like that. Sometimes they'll just read 0, but yeah, they need to be a little bit to the right of 0 to be working correctly. But yeah, check this thing out. This was a great score. Got a 46-inch deck. It's in beautiful shape. You know, $10 fix, took me 7 minutes to install. So I just mocking some stuff up here now that I'm thinking about the bagging system. I have the lower chute attached. It works great. It's got a pin. It's got a rubber strap and a hook. And then on the other side, it's got another rubber tether strap and a hook. And yeah, nice and solid. So that's definitely the right piece. Yeah, you can tell down here too. That's a nice sealed line. That's what you want. This nozzle's pretty bad. That's better. Oh, this one's failing too. Just a bad day to paint. Finally a beautiful day again. It's a little windy, you can probably hear that, but yeah, all the paint's dry. Got the center column here all nice and painted up with some Rust-Oleum. I think I used gloss on this. So yeah, pretty shiny, but I like shiny. Okay, so I was thinking about doing the deck next after we got that paint done, so I wanted to get outside just to get some nice fresh air because it's a little stale inside the shed, but it's beautiful outside. So let's get a deck mounted. Hard to find the right bolt hole pattern for this. I'm sure it exists, so just got to keep trying. So I'm finding this sort of slider on the seat bracket is actually adjustable. If you take it out, you can actually get these to be more narrow, or you can spread them out. So I think I'm just gonna fiddle with that. I think it was in the most broad setting, and so now I'm trying it more narrow. We'll see if that helps. All right, I think I found it here. Still looks a little crooked. Might have to do a little twisting. But that's 3 out of the 4 bolts, but this one doesn't look like it wants to line up great. Well, there we go. Okay, that's 4. Yeah, it's certainly a big seat, you know, a lot bigger than the OEM seat, but yeah, pretty easy to make the adjustment. You just loosen those, the thing can slide forward or backward. I think that's probably the best way to do it. You know, I was kind of seeing if, is this something that transfers over? It might. I don't know, does the seat safety transfer over? Maybe I'm going, I don't know, I could try to pop that off and see. Now that I know that at least it fits. Let me take a look. I'll take it off. It's just 4 bolts, right? Let's see if the seat safety does fit on that. I just didn't really look, and also see if the slider works. Well, just to show you, I mean, here's the seat safety. It's just got an open hole there. Someone put some like chicken wire in there just to keep the mice out, but you can see a smaller cutout where that can actually fit into. This aftermarket one does not. Here's like the slider keeper for moving the seat around. It would go somewhere, you know, kind of looks like these, but these are 8mm, like these aren't fitting in here, you know, so nor are they the right distance apart. So I think we had it right the first time. That's gonna be how you do it. This is gonna have to be disabled. I just gave it a little rinse down right now. The engine bay there was getting pretty dusty. Had a lot of green from spraying this thing with green. Not that it was like overspray, it's just sort of like green dust that settles. Easily wiped off, but I just gave it a pressure wash. All right, I want to show you one other part that I ordered on eBay, and I'm sure some of you have been noticing that it's missing. And I got it, don't worry. So I have these cargo or bagger mounts, bushings, whatever you want to call them. They're obviously missing on the fender here, but I got these off eBay and they fit perfectly, so I got the right ones. It's a weird shape, so it kind of makes you second guess what you're purchasing, because you know, it kind of looks like it's supposed to be that shape, but that's just to accommodate a large hole and a small hole. And this, you know, if you don't know, it helps with the bagger. There's a bracket that connects back here. So you know, could you do it without these bushings? Definitely, but the bagger will be loose. It'll egg out all this metal fender here. It's just not the way to go. So you definitely want these things. You know, why were they missing? I don't know, because they really shouldn't come off. But at least someone was selling them used on eBay. So that is nice. They weren't terribly expensive. It was definitely worth getting. Shipped really fast too. Have some other things here. These are like the hubcaps or wheel hub, whatever, yellow hubcaps. We're gonna put those on. The other ones are faded and oily and scratched up, and yeah, these make a nice finishing touch too. I won't show you doing all of these, but you know, use a heat gun. That works really well. Gets the plastic very malleable, and then I just use like flat nose pliers to pull on it. You'll see it'll come right off, and then you can keep the heat gun out and just hit these with a little bit of heat before you slide them on. Just makes the whole process easier, especially if it's in really cold weather. I mean, this is a pretty nice day, but you know, if you do this in the winter, definitely helps to warm it up. See, it comes right off. Clean up that oil mess. Get the new one. So just hitting a little bit of heat down here. The new ones don't need much. It should go pretty much right on. There you go. And I'll clean up that mess too. This lens was not easy to get off. I don't know why, but it was just very stuck in the center, and then also up on the tops here. But I don't know, in case you're ever struggling, it does remove. Just keep at it. Try to go slow. Try not to break any plastics. Well, we kind of lost our pretty day here, turning overcast, but this thing is just about all the way finished. Obviously I was working on cleaning the lens, but I got the hood on. How's that profile looking? It's pretty nice. And yeah, we're ready to try out the bagger. So I think we'll get the bagger from over there. We'll hook it up, see if we can get it all the way on. Oh, I didn't show you the hubcaps finished. So yeah, we did that one together. But that's looking nice. Let's get the bagger on, and I might even rinse it down one more time. There just continues to be dirt on this thing, and then I think we're there. I think we're finished. We're right about at the finish line, everyone. Here we are the next day. I wanted to let that dry. There's actually still a little bit of water puddling underneath, but I have some stickers, and I want to put one there, and I want to put one there. As they blow away in the breeze right now. You guys will have to let me know what you think. Like, is it worth it? Is it worth doing all this paint? I mean, to me, it just looks amazing. But again, I'm always curious what you guys think something like this might sell for. I'm not exactly sure yet. I kind of have to look at what John Deere's are selling for. You know, I don't see too many things with baggers this season, so I don't know. I'm sort of thinking between 1,200 and 1,500. It does have relatively high hours. I think it has 700 and something hours on it, so that's kind of high. But you know, we just did the head gasket, so we did the head gasket, set the valves. You know, I think that's a pretty good service, something you would want to do at a high hour mark. So all right, we're going to use some automatic transmission fluid, some blue shop towels. Just going to give this a quick wipe down and shine. So I'm going to put it on time lapse so you guys can watch me do that. Well, let's hop on it and give it a final test run and everything. Show you how it operates. Starts right up without choke. So Carmen and I are gonna end this video right here. Pretty nice job, huh, dog? Yeah. Just coming in for a scratch now. John Deere's are pretty good. Nice looking tractor. Thanks for your help, Carmen. So that is a wrap with the John Deere project. The first one I've featured on the channel, and I just love doing a paint job where I get to use OEM paint and, you know, get this thing to look as brand new as possible. I haven't had a chance to do the classic green and yellow, so this was a blast. I spent a decent amount of money on this project, not only just acquiring the tractor for $200, you know, I don't know if I can recap it all, a new seat, the $175 bags that we put on, a battery, all the missing little parts, the bushings and things like that. There was a lot that went into this, plus some extra cosmetic things like obviously the paint. The paint alone was $60, grip tape, things like that. So this racked up pretty quick, but I think I'm gonna make my money back no problem. This thing has a bagger. I mean, grass in Connecticut right now is just exploding. We're growing big time. People are contacting me for other mowers. I've sold a lot in the last 2 weeks, and I finally have one with a bag that looks as nice as it does. So I'm hoping to sell it for, you know, 15 to 12. I'm still not sure. We'll see where that is. But yeah, I think for a high hour machine with the head gasket job that we did and everything else, I think this thing is perfectly fine to go right back into service and mow people's lawns and to be a really good mower for someone. So thank you guys for watching the channel. My name is Kyle, and the channel is called Kyle by the Creek, and I hope that you like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel most of all. Seeing some pretty good growth here in the spring, so thank you guys. And if you're a new subscriber, thank you. Feel free to drop a comment. I always like to respond if I can, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Whoops, I forgot to put the pouch thing on. I got it, I didn't forget. One more interruption. I just finished this thing too. Yep. These are two nice tractors.